Apologies if I ramble. The Geordie in me talks really, really quickly, and as soon as I get very excited over something, I go even quicker still, so I'm going to try not to, but I do have loads, so I'm just going to fly through bits of it. I started off in the first year at Sacred Heart. I was head of faculty for art and technology. My mentor was John Cridland. I had the most amazing 5-10 minutes of revelation through one of the conversations with him about 3 days before starting the academic year 2 years ago at the start of this. And we talked about industry, and we talked about the girls at Sacred Heart, and we talked about creativity, and we talked about all those different things in terms of engineering and manufacturing things that perhaps they didn't always look to, and about all those overlaps. And I was so excited about going back to work, and I decided that's what it had to be about. I also knew that I wanted to move to senior leadership, and I knew from whatever I got from it, it needed to be the opportunity to do something whole school, to have that bigger impact, and that were the main aims. So I started to look at the school and try to link to industries and to give provision for the students to really kind of open up their views, so that the girls were traditionally going into medicine or care. If they were doing science and maths, they weren't necessarily thinking about other sections. So we started to have a look at that. I read loads of research. I love research. And do you know what? Realising that as well has been incredible for me, because I realise that that's a thing that I can grab hold of if I'm unsure about something. I can find my facts and information and help it actually to get me there and use it. And that's helped me so much last year, but incredibly in my new role this year as well. So we started to have a look at this idea of being able to change those gender stereotypes and really, really stretch their perceptions of things. So we did various sections of it. Now, I was originally paired up with Sharon Grant, who was at Durham School for Girls. And one of the connections she had was with Caterpillar, and we talked about Nissan and various things. And as a community project, that's kind of as much as it ever became conversations about things we were interested in. Because as you find out, she took her own journey through a different form of education outside of schools within Caterpillar itself. But our group together became this discussion-based learning. So some of the things that we did, I developed contacts with NA College. That came from a technology network. Again, someone had actually moved out of education to a college to work there. And you like to blag a bit of help, so I asked whether they could help me out. And I managed to work with some Year 10 girls over an extended project. I love a good survey as well, so finding out information at the beginning and end, gives you some concrete feedback from it. So they worked, they developed some skills, they massively started to change their perceptions of something from the beginning to the end in terms of what their understanding of job roles were, whether they viewed it as a male perception or not. And what started to develop over the course of the project, because there's various different sections, so there was a group of Year 10 cohorts who were at the top end, there was a group of Year 10 cohorts who then went to work within Nissan in different sections and look at things. They decided that I could get a second little day from it because someone mentioned something in passing that, you know, they could do something else. So you grab the opportunity and you write down the date in your diary straight away before they say no. And I decided to take the cohort students who might take the apprenticeship route. So I took them there. They were amazing. They showed up the very male-dominated cohort of students who were already at NA College and really, really increased their ideas of these different pathways. The feedback was fantastic in terms of them talking about it helped them understand about teamwork and learning more about apprenticeships that they didn't understand about at all. We did things on site. We were undergoing a massive renovation there, so I grabbed the opportunity to take some students around the renovations going on. We were building a new auditorium, and they managed to see the transition between the blueprints and the actual site, which was really interesting for them to have a look at. We also connected with Nissan, so I took cohorts from Year 10, 11 and 12 to Nissan for a morning's event where they looked at the idea of females within Nissan and the different roles there, which pushed their roles. One of the things I started to find out as we went along, it was very easy to change those perceptions of the students lower down. By the time you got into the sixth form, they had very, very clear views, and they were the ones which it was interesting to actually see them radically shift. The students lower down weren't as gender stereotyped about it, but the older ones kind of had this almost embedded by that point, so it became really clear we had to do things from really early on. When we started to review things, I really started thinking about the longevity of it, and I started to implement various different actions to try and make sure that it actually could continue on, and taking in mind that we needed to really pinpoint the younger students, we introduced things such as a STEAM day, how to get the art in there, the artist, and we wanted that creativity element in it. And I kept on remembering back to conversations with John Cridland about creativity being really essential within industry. You couldn't just know the numbers, you needed to have something extra. We introduced STEM ambassadors, we made links to the Big Bang Fair, and I started to look at local market information. And I was really, really excited about how all these things could be spread out into the next year. In the process of this, obviously, I was starting to look for new roles, and I managed to secure my first, off my first ever interview, a new job. So I've actually moved out of the all-girls sector. I'm in mixed now, moved across the river to south of the Tyne to St Joseph's in Hebburn, and I took on a role of head of sixth form. So within my role of head of sixth form, obviously I was looking a little bit at careers, the idea of supporting those students to get to their final destination, making them who they need to be. And then in January, at the end of January, through various staff changes, and about 2 weeks before Ofsted landed at our door, I got given careers on top of the sixth form and on top of the head of ethos and various bits and bobs like that. And I was so excited about it because it was the things that I'd spent all that time researching, being really interested in the first part of the mentoring programme. And it was so lovely just to get hold of that again, and it was really tangible, and it was because of the research. It was I could actually do something, implement it. So I managed to grab all of that things which were really important about that first year of that mentoring thing, impacted so much on my role this year. Without doing that, without pushing myself to do that further across the school, I couldn't have been handed that careers and been able to just fly with it. And I couldn't have sat there 2 weeks into it in front of an Ofsted inspector and talk for 2 hours about the fantastic career provision at the school and all the exciting things that I had planned and how we're going to hit all those Gatsby benchmarks and how every student was going to leave there knowing exactly where they were going with the best careers provision, with total conviction that that was what was going to happen. And it will. So in terms of the skills developing from the first year of the project, I realised that I had to access internal and external providers, so I developed those. The idea of reviewing policy, putting proposals forward, I used all those skills. Organisation, because I do like things to be perfect and nice and neat, and I'd managed to work through coordinating the various parts of the project, actually realising that then once you're in a senior leadership role, you really are having to juggle lots of different things. So I started to kind of look at those. So in the course of my careers so far, just dead quick prezi of all the bits and bobs, going from running 4 quite separate projects. Since January, we've done an audit of the careers and curriculum. We've done various Gatsby audits. We've had action plans. We've rewritten the careers policy. We've redesigned the website. We've produced a providers access policy, which didn't exist. We now have a fully coherent careers programme. We now have STEM events happening right way through from year 7 to 13 at various points. I've suddenly developed this immense network of people. It's like once someone knows who you are, the emails suddenly appear. So we are working with various people externally and internally, which became really important in terms of the regional hub events and the LEP, South Tyneside Careers events, Teach First online and leadership training, Careers Enterprise modules, online training, because I've got a little bit of research, working with the governors in terms of it. And it's been really interesting to be able to take what I did last year and really, really embed it in what was suddenly thrown at me partway through this year, and think about how much of a change that can impact on the students at St Joseph's, because that's generally what the school I'm in currently now needs. It needs a positive forward change. And when I think about why I went into the mentoring and why I think about why I started up the community project, to help spread that in terms of the girls' understanding, but also to give me an experience to help me get to my next stage, it's certainly done that. It developed those students there at Sacred Heart in terms of what their perception was, and then it gave me the stepping stone to be able to then go to St Joseph's and then be able to roll out those things again and then broaden that again at St Joseph's. And just in terms of like the all girls thing as well, we are going to set up a St Joseph Girls Can thing as of September to really start to focus on that, because what you suddenly have going from all girls, where you can break down lots of those barriers because it is all girls and all the girls in science, all the girls in science, you suddenly have the realisation in the mixed where it is suddenly very, very clearly, distinctly different again. Going from the lovely email that I've picked up about 10 minutes ago of my list of students who've opting for the Saturday courses in the Royal Institute of Engineering, and there are 15 year 9s and only one is a girl currently, and it made me just a bit So that's the next stage forward in terms of that, and we're really going to push that at St Joseph's. Thank you.